Hello and welcome to another Teach Yourself Python video. This is the second video in a series on how to manipulate lists, how to change lists. In the first video we looked at how to remove or take away a word from a list. If you haven't seen that video, go and watch it first. At the end of that video I gave a task for homework for you to do by yourself, and that task was down here. Two tasks. Number one, remove the word from these lists, and number two was add the words to these lists. Add. So in the first part of this video we're going to teach ourselves how to add a word to a Python list, and in the second half of the video we'll teach ourselves how to replace a word in a Python list. So just in case you don't know what replace is, there it is in Russian, there it is in German, there it is in Turkish, Chinese, there it is in traditional Chinese.
替换一个词.
字，替换一个字. Okay, so we're going to look at replacing 替换一个字, replacing a word, in the second half of the video. But let's start with our add the necessary word. So my list, Max likes eating dogs, and we need to add hot dogs because that's wrong. He doesn't like eating dogs. He likes eating hot dogs. Okay, so we have our list. How do we add a word there? Well, let's teach ourselves. I don't know. I can't remember. So we come into a search engine. Go Python. Skip that one. Append versus extend in Python lists. Adding. Here we go, adding. So adding elements to a list. Oh, this is interesting. One, append, extend, and insert. Okay. So it looks like we have three different methods that are related to each other. Okay, so let's come back and have a look at the Russian. Добавлять, расширять, вставлять. Ah, okay, I see. So, some different techniques there.
Liste yöntemlerini ekle, genişlet ve ekle.
Okay. I'll pretend I understand it. Okay, so the first one is append. How can we append? Is it easy? Yes, wonderful. So that's our new list. Boom, throw it in there. And then what does it say? It says append Y. So copy and paste. Had a student, programming student, he's now working in Microsoft in the US. Absolutely brilliant programmer, very high level. And I asked him once, what's your best piece of advice for someone who's learning programming? And he said the best piece of advice is to always try and change. He used the word tweak. Which does mean you take something and then change it to see what happens as a result. So in this one here, they're teaching us to append, whatever that is, Y. Okay, but let's follow this student's advice, which I think is very excellent, obviously excellent advice from that type of person. Okay, so there's our list. Here we're appending. Just again, if you can't remember what that means, let's put that in by itself. Eklemek, net, and 附加. Okay, so they're saying append Y, but we're teaching ourselves Python, so we're going to append something different. Let's append Max is Nusha. There we go. We'll append Max is Nusha. Because that's the thing with programming, you can do anything. You tell the program to put Max is Nusha there, it will, if you do it correctly. Okay, now what do you think is going to happen? We're trying to append Max is Nusha. Where's it going to go? Let's have a look. Print A. Boom, Max is Nusha. So we can see there append, it means add, but it's adding at the end. if we have a look at my list, Max likes eating dogs, we want to add hot in there. We want to add hot. And that's going to go here before hot dogs. So we can't append. We can't use this. It's going to put it on the end. Okay, so let's come down. We've got the next one here, which is insert. Okay, this method inserts an item at a specified position. That's looking nice, just in case you don't understand.
指定的位置
Yep. So this is exactly what we want. We want to put that in a specific position. We want hot dogs. Okay. So here's the explanation. Press pause and read if you want to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to play. Okay, here we have it. Insert to 2. Okay, so A, coming back to this is our new A list. I'm going to insert to 2. So we've got some numbers. Okay, let's see what happens. Print A. Okay, so 1x2. So we had that 2, and now we've got a second 2. So let's play again. Let's just change the first one to a 3 and see, is it going to put a 3 in there or a 2 in there? Print A 2 2 2 2 2. Okay, so there you have it. So it didn't put 3 in there. It didn't put 3 in there. So what does 3 mean? We'll try one more. Let's put a very big number. Insert 50. And then print A 2 2 2. Okay, 50 put the 2 at the end. Okay, so this is changing the position, and from this we can guess that the first number there specifies the position, says the position, and the second one says what to do. So let's see if we're correct. So we'll insert not a number, but we'll insert world hello instead of hello world. Okay, we're not going to do it at 50. Let's try and do it like, let's say, let's try and do it here. Insert it probably around about 4. So it's at 0. We start from 0, remember. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, print A. Yeah, there we go. We've inserted it there. Okay, so now we have our rule that if we want to put a word somewhere in the middle of a list, then we put it there. If we come back to my search, we'll just come back to my search, yes. Stack abuse, let's remember that. I don't know if you remember, but in my search I put Python add a word to a list. So maybe it would have been a better idea, to put add a word in the middle of a list. Okay, because we saw with that append, it puts it at the end, and we don't want that. So it's a good idea to think about what your specific idea is and put the specific idea in there. And if you know the language, for example here, we now know it's insert. So if we have a different problem with inserting, Python insert, 2 words. Maybe we want to insert 2 words, 2 separate words. So use the language that's used in the programming and try and be specific with your ideas. Okay, so let's come back to my list. Max likes eating hot dogs. And what do we want to do with that? First of all, we want to get rid of that. We want to put, what was it? Insert dot insert. Yeah, like that. Dot insert. Okay. We don't want to insert hello world. Max likes eating hot dogs. So Max 0. I'll do this in a different file just to make it clearer. So okay, so there's the list, and we've got this table working. Good. So this one here is 0, this one here is 1, this one here is 2, This one here is 3. So we want to insert it, likes eating hot. Do we insert it with 2 or 3 to put not or hot in there? Maybe 2. Let's try 2. Okay, I'll go that up a bit. Copy and paste that in again one more time. Okay, so insert, let's try the 2 and hot. Okay, and then we'll print my list for Max likes hot eating dogs. Nope. So it wasn't number 2, it should have been number 3. So, well, again, we just have to remove. So it was my list for, my list for, dot remove, and we want to remove hot. Okay, so again, we'll print my list for. Hopefully that's Max likes eating hot dogs. So we want number 3. Doop, doop, doop. Number 3. Okay, this one should work. Oops. Copy and paste. Max likes eating hot dogs. Yay, we've got it. Okay. So, there we go. So now we know that if we want to put it in the middle, we use insert. Right up here. So if you want to chuck it in the middle somewhere, use insert. Or you could insert it in the end. If you want to put it at the end, then you use append. And there was another one, wasn't there? What was it? Stack abuse. There you go. Adding, append, insert, and extend. Okay. So extend.x. I see. So we've got one list here, A, and then we want to extend it. B is 1, 2, and extend it by B. So my guess is it just puts 1, 2 on the end. Let's have a look. X, Y, yeah, it puts 1, 2 on the end. Okay, so that's a little bit like appending, but you can actually put 2 lists together. Now that could be quite useful. That could be quite useful. If you have like one list with some information, and then you have a second separate list with information, you can put it together in one list. Okay. So let's move on to the second part of the video. And the second part of the video is we now want to replace a word in a list. Replace a word. I've already forgotten that. Tijuan, of course. Tijuan. Okay, 1 second. Okay, we're back. So, hopefully you guys have heard of Romeo and Juliet. Okay, so there's Juliet, 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 Romeo. It's a love story. It's by Shakespeare. So these 2 guys fall in love, and then they end up dying. It's a tragedy. So very famous tragedy, Romeo and Juliet. Sing Romeo, Romeo, and there we go. Of course, Romeo and Juliet. So Chinese.
Romeo与朱丽叶。
Juliet, Juliet, and Romeo. Juliet, Romeo.
Romeo ve Juliet.
Romeo и Джульетта.
Okay, very similar, aren't they? Okay, so my list here I've got is Romeo loves Juliet. So let's say you have a big text of words, and for one reason or another you want to change one of the words that's in there with another word. Sometimes you want to change numbers that might be in a list. You might have someone, for example, you've got a list of the people's names and the address and all this different information, and then the person gets married and their surname changes. So you've got to say, okay, everywhere where you see this old surname, this massive list, replace it with the new surname. Surname. Emilia Sogliati. Sim. Okay. So in our case, we're going to start with Romeo and Juliet, and we're going to replace Romeo. We want to replace it, let's say, with Max. Not Romeo loves Juliet, but Max loves Juliet. Okay, so how can we replace that? We come into our search engine, go up the top, and say Python replace a word in a list. Oh, we're still in images. Okay, well, this is interesting. Sometimes image searches can be useful. You can look at the pictures and maybe you can see a picture that's very clear and very easy, but no, all these pictures look difficult. So come back. Okay, replacing a word in the list. No, very difficult. Find and replace string values. Oh, here we go. This looks interesting. Words, there's our list, blah, 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 blah. What's the solution? Oh, the solution is very, very easy. And look, it's very, very popular. And it even tells you list comprehensions, and there's a link. So you can click on that and read more. Okay. So this is all looking very complicated. No, not really. Okay, so let's take our list here and copy and paste it. Let's have a quick look. How much is brr? The fish brr? No, really. Okay, so obviously they're going to want to change brr to something else. Let's put it in there and let's get the solution. The solution is words is equal to W replace. Well, there it is. There's our brr, and then boom for W in words. So replace brr. So we have brr and we don't want it. We want this one here. So let's replace it maybe with a different language. Let's replace it with chickens. Chickens dance well in Chinese. So first of all, how do we say that?
鸡跳得好.
鸡跳得好. Okay, 鸡跳得好. Chickens dance well. So let's replace it there. Boom. There we go. Hey, this is looking good. Okay, let's print words. Okay. So we've got how much? So this is probably going to get rid of brr and then put in 鸡跳得好. Chickens dance well. Yeah. So we can see here is 鸡跳得好. And the next one, fish, 鸡跳得好. Good. So we've got it. So replace list equals Romeo, Juliet. Let's have a look. So what do? We take replace list, and then we say it's equal to, and we take this one here, boom, and we want to replace brr. So we don't want to replace brr, we want to replace Romeo. We don't want these, boom, boom, and we want to replace Romeo with, oops, with Max. Boom. There we go. So print, 1 second. Print replace list. Oh, I see what's going wrong. Oops. Because I've got how much is. I said replace list is W dot replace for W in words. This is words here and this is words here. So it didn't look, I changed it to a different replace list. Okay, so let's come back, do it again. Replace list is this one here. Okay, and then we come back here. Is W replace for W in words. So do I put it here, replace list. Replace list dot replace for replace list in replace list. No. So we need to think about this. Let's have a look at this one here again. Okay. Let's have a look at this one here. So words is the name of it, and this is in words. Okay, so W for W in words. So this might be a little bit difficult for you. If it is a little bit difficult for you and you want to continue to teach yourself, go back into your search engine, into DuckDuckGo or Google, and have a look for a different solution. I will teach you a little bit here. So what this W, it can be anything. Basically, it just means that for each thing in the list. So in our list, we've got how much is BR the. So for every word in this list, for that word, replace this item with this item. Okay, so what it will do is it will look at our first word there. So look at how. That's the first W in the list, and the second W in the list, and the third W in the list. So it will look at how, and if how is BR, it will then replace it with GTR the how. It will then look at much, and if much is BR, it will change it with this. So it actually goes through every individual item in the list. So what we need to do is we need to have replace list is equal for words replace. Again, we change this back to Romeo. Replace Romeo with Max for every word that's not in this words list, but for every word that is in replace list. Okay, so that one should work. We'll print replace list. Max loves Juliet. Wonderful stuff. The advantage of this technique, where you look at every word in the list, is that you can change. If Romeo is in that list several times, you can change it several times. So, for example, let's say we have this one here. Romeo loves Juliet. And Romeo, Juliet loves Romeo. Okay, Romeo loves Juliet and Juliet loves Romeo. So here we've got two Romeos. And if we put that in again, this one here, if we replace Romeo with Max for every word. Now it doesn't have to be word. It can be like for every word in our list dot. So that makes it a bit clearer, doesn't it? For every word in our list, replace Romeo with Max. For every word, but then you have to change that second W. Bang. Let's print it. And we can see here it changed the first Romeo to Max and the second Romeo. Okay? So it doesn't matter how big our text is. It doesn't matter how big our text is. We can replace every single Romeo in that text. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's write in replace Python. Replace element in a list. So that's the official Python language there. Replace element in a list. Press enter. And let's try and find something easy. Okay, A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A10. Not easy. We can go down. Okay, this one here looks a little bit easy. So it's not easy, it's a little bit easier. So we can throw that in. Okay, so we've got our list there with all these different numbers. And here we have for if x is, let's have a look at what happens with this one here. For if x equals 1 else in a. Okay, so a refers to that name there, that's a. And then for if x is 1 else x for x in a. So it's quite confusing, let's just print it. Okay, so we can see for, and there we have a for.
we had a 1 there, and then we've got 2, 3, 2, 3, and there's 4, and there's 1. Okay, so, and there's another 1, and another 1, and another 4, and another 4. So obviously this is saying 4 if x is equal to 1. So just let me talk about that for a second. Okay, so what we can do is x is equal to 1. What that means is just this, for each item or element in A. Yep, for each item in A. So for the first item, zeroth element, which is 1. Okay, so if that first item, for each item in A, if that first item is equal to 1, change it to a 4. Now there are no 1s. Okay, so let's change it. If the first item, if the item equals 3, okay, the item equals 3. Okay, for each item in this list A, if it's 3, then change it to 4. But let's change that. Let's make it a word. So let's make it cookie. Cookie. There we go. So for each item in the A, if it's 3, you change it to cookie. Else the item, leave it as it is. Boom. And boom. Okay, so that's exactly the same. We can call this anything we want. It just means, hey, look at the first item, or the 0th elephant item. If it's 3, change it to cookie. If it's not 3, for that item, leave it as that item. So we can call it anything. We can say, for everything, if everything is 3, change it to cookie. But for everything that's not free, then save it as it is. So I'll just make that a bit bigger and change it. There we go. Okay, so it doesn't matter what that's called. There we go, cookie. So it's gone into 3 and replaced it with cookie. Okay, so that's another way of doing it. That's a second way of doing it. Let's have a third way of doing it. So I'll skip the search and show you. Okay, this is another way. Our list is this one here, 1, 2, and 3. So let's put that in there, 1, 2, and 3. And then we do this one here. Oops. Okay, so this one replaced. So we've got the word 1, and that says number 1 and equals replaced. So there's no word replaced. Obviously, we're putting that word in there. So say hi Max. Okay, we go like that, and then we can print this. Hi Max. Okay, so that's gone to number. It's replaced that word 1. Okay. Let's check. Let's do this again. No, I'll change that. Make this 1, 2, 3, and then 1 at the end. Okay, so our new list, this is the latest one, is 1, 2, 3, and 1. So we've got 2 1s. Let's see if we can change it. So list index 1, change it with hi Max, and then we'll print list. There we go. So we can see the first one, hi Max, was changed. It was replaced, but the second one wasn't. So that's interesting, isn't it? So we can use this technique of list square brackets and then list the name dot index 1 hi Max, but we're only going to change the first one it sees and not all of them. Okay, so I mean, which one's the best one? It depends on what you want to do. If you only want to change one of them, then obviously this is easily the best one. If you want to change the item every single time it's in the list, then this other one's obviously going to be better. Another question is what this one that goes through with the if for everything, is that quicker than the other one for x in blah blah blah, change x? That's what you'd think. Okay, which one's quicker? You could measure them. Obviously, if you're going through a lot of data and you have to change a lot, that might make a bit of a difference there. Okay, so the homework.
So let's have a look. Okay, so what we want is we want the text of Romeo and Juliet. So .txt, you put that into a search engine and you'll find probably gutenburg.org. you click on that. So gutenburg.org, Project Gutenberg, it's a website that has lots of different old books on it. And if you have a look, you've got HTML, something called EPUB, plain text. You click on the plain text, and there it is. That is Romeo and Juliet. The heads of the maids are the heads of the maids. Why no, but sadly tell me who. So that's the whole play. This is the whole play of Romeo and Juliet. What I did was I took out some, and I copied and pasted into a text document here. Okay, so what your task is going to be, what you want to do is you want to replace Romeo with any name you like. Okay, think about it a little bit. When I did it, I put in the word Romeo, but as you can see here, Rom and Jul. So you have to change this Rom as well. And then if you look down through the text, there's a Romeo, there's a Romeo. Okay, so what you'll need to do is actually replace two words. So that's the first part of the task. I'll put this list into the description below the video. The second part of the task, I want you to go to gutenburg.org. So let me just check that now. So you can see there, up here, gutenburg.org. You need to think of a book. It says here, search for books. Now, all of these books are free. The reason why they're free is they're all very old. So when you choose a book, don't choose a new book. Choose like one of the classics. So I'll put in a Russian classic, Crime and Punishment. For example, that's the name of Crime and Punishment. Okay, what have we got there? Where is it? Sort alphabetically. Here's something. Oh, there we go. It's in Russian. Okay, so I've got Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and then you need to find the UTF-8. Okay, and then I want you to copy as much of that as you want. Okay, a few words about Dostoevsky. Here we go. A young man came out. What a beginning. Okay, so take that text, copy it, and then put it into your program there. Don't forget that you probably want to make sure that it's there like that. Okay, so you can see what happened there. I tried to paste it in, but it didn't work when I put it into these. For example, if I put hot, you can see it's a word. But when I paste this one here, it goes green and then it changes. Okay, so in part of this task, you need to discover why that's the case. So you need to fix this little problem. Okay, so the first task is the Romeo and Juliet one in the description. Second task is go onto gutenburg.org, find an old book, put some of the text into your Python program, make sure that it's words, make sure that it's green. So you need to solve that problem. And then change or replace whatever words you want.